All right, for 13 and 14, we are we're subtracting our fractions. It's going to work the same as adding, only you're subtracting. So we're going to start off again by simplifying the top and bottom of our fractions if we can. My first one, I notice we have n squared plus 16. We can't factor that. Remember, if we want to factor something that has just two terms, we need a minus sign in between. So we're going to keep it n squared plus 16. But we can factor the bottom. And if I do the bottom, we have our two terms, so we can do the difference of squares. Remember, we're going to take the square root of the first term, and that's going to be what goes in the front of each of my things. So square root of n is n. And then we're going to take the square root of 16, which is 4. So 4 goes second. Oops. Notice I totally messed that up. Your second sign should be minus. Or your first, it doesn't really matter. One has to be plus, one has to be minus. And then we're subtracting from that 4 over n minus 4. Remember, this whole thing travels together. And we need our denominators to match. So I notice that they both have n minus 4. So that means I need to multiply the second one by n plus 4. So we're going to have an n plus 4 here and an n plus 4 here. When we do that, we're going to rewrite just our first fraction. So we have n squared plus 16 all divided by n plus 4 times n minus 4. Now notice we have this 4 on top and we have the minus. I'm going to group those together so we have a negative 4, and we're going to take that negative 4 and we're going to distribute it. So we're going to do negative 4 times n is a negative 4n, and negative 4 times 4 is negative 16. From there, we need to simplify the top and see if anything can cancel out. If I simplify the top, I notice that we have n squared minus 4n, and then we have a minus 16 and a plus 16. So those two are going to cancel each other out, and this is all divided by n plus 4 times n minus 4. Oh, sorry, this should have an n up here. I forgot my n. We are going to factor out anything from the top we can. I noticed that they both have an n. So we're going to take out n. Remember, it's just like dividing this by n, dividing this by n. And we're left with minus 4 over n plus 4 times n minus 4. And now we're looking for anything that matches. Notice on top I have n minus 4, on the bottom I have n minus 4, so my final answer is n over n plus 4. Again, just simplify whatever you can. Make sure that you distribute that negative. That's kind of the key difference here, is like this step, we had a negative 4 and we multiplied it by everything else. 14, we have x minus 1 divided by x minus 2 minus 1 over x plus 2. Right off the bat, there's nothing I can simplify, but notice that our denominators don't have anything in common. So for the first one, we have x minus 1 over x minus 2, and we need to multiply it by whatever the second denominator was. So we're going to multiply the top by x plus 2 and the bottom by x plus 2, and then we're going to subtract from that minus 1 over x plus 2. And that one is missing my x minus 2. So we're going to multiply by x minus 2 times x minus 2. Notice on the top of my first fraction, I have these two things we need to multiply together. We're going to go ahead and do the box method for those. So I'm going to set up my box. On top, I'm going to have x minus 1. On the bottom, we'd have x plus 2. X times x gives me an x squared. X times negative 1 is a negative 1x. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. We're going to continue by combining our like terms. And this is the top of my new fraction. While we set up my fraction, the bottom is going to be the same. We have x minus 2 times x plus 2. We're going to simplify this guy. Notice these two are going to go together. So I have x squared, and then if I do 2x minus 1x, I get plus x, and then we had a minus 2. For the second half, we're going to take this negative 1 and we're going to distribute it. So we're going to do negative 1 times x is a negative x, and negative 1 times negative 2 is a positive 2. I'm going to zoom out so I have a little more space. We're going to simplify the top and the bottom. Notice that on the top we have a x and a negative x, so those two cancel out. We also have a negative 2 and a positive 2, so those two are going to cancel out. So we're really left with x squared over x minus 2 times x plus 2. I can't simplify anything else, so that would be my final answer. X squared divided by x minus 2 times x plus 2.